Last week I was asked to play piano and sing at a funeral, and the hymn that had been chosen was Crown Him with Many Crowns. And so whenever I play at a funeral, I like to send the words to the person arranging myself. Otherwise, people find versions of hymns that I've never heard, and then the words I sing are different to what's on the bulletin and all of that. So I went to look for the words of Crown Him with Many Crowns, and in all my hymnals they were slightly different. I couldn't find one normal version. And so I discovered that the song has a bit of a strange history to it, and I'm going to share it with you today. But first, please would you subscribe to the channel and hit that little bell so that you get notified if there are new videos. I see there are a lot of new people these days, and so thank you for being part of my channel. I hope you enjoy these videos. And also, why don't you share below in the comments what the song means to you? Have you heard it before? Did you sing it a lot? Or do you still sing it a lot? And do the words mean anything specific to you? I'd love to share in your joy in the comments below. So let me tell you the story. The song originated with a man named Matthew Bridges. Now, he was an Anglican layman who, at the age of 48, became a Catholic. And not much is known about Bridges, apart from the fact that he lived in Canada for a while and then came back to England shortly before he died. Now, he wrote the song in 1851 and published it in a hymnal called Hymns of the Heart. And that's pretty much all that's known about him. And it was a few years later, some people say it was in 1871, other sources say 1876, others say 1880, so I'm not quite sure. But another version of the song was written, and it was written by a man named Geoffrey Thring. Now, he was an Anglican priest, and it seems as if a colleague of his asked him to rewrite the words of this song that Bridges wrote, because he didn't really like the verses, apparently. And so Thring, who was a noted hymn writer himself, took it upon himself to do that and wrote 6 new verses. He started his version with the words, "Crown him with crowns of gold." And it had a bit of a different feel. Thring died in 1903, and ever since then, both of these men are always credited when this song is published in a hymnal, because inevitably the person compiling the hymnal likes part of Bridges' composition and part of Thring's writing. Both of them are powerful, but you can't include all 12 in a hymnal, and so they usually choose some from one and some from the other. And by the way, a lot of you have asked me to include more information about the melody behind these songs, because usually hymns are sung to 2 or 3 different tunes, and I might choose one that you didn't know. But the tune for this hymn is pretty universal. It's called Dear Damata and was written by George Elvey in 1868. It's the melody that's most associated with this song, although it's often used for another hymn as well, Soldiers of Christ Arise. Now, what I want to do for the lyrics is take you through all 12 verses, the 6 that Bridges wrote and the 6 that Thring wrote. I'm going to be very brief, but see if you can decide which ones you like the most. I think they're all powerful. So let's have a look. So let's start with Bridges' original verse, which says, "Crown him with many crowns, the Lamb upon his throne. Hark, how the heavenly anthem drowns all music but its own." I love that. I love that. Crown him with many crowns, by the way, comes from Revelation 19, where we see Jesus wearing many crowns, a great symbol of his majesty. And, of course, he's the Lamb upon the throne. That's a real image that we see in Revelation a lot. This picture of the heavenly anthem drowning all music but its own is wonderful, of the praise of God drowning everything out in heaven. Oh, what a picture. What a day it's going to be when we experience that. And so he says, "Awake, my soul, and sing of him who died for thee, and hail him as thy matchless king through all eternity. See him with his many crowns and sing, because he died and he is worthy." Matchless, that's a great word that we don't use anymore. Now, verse 2 in Bridges' version talks about the incarnation, about Christmas. Look at what he wrote. "Crown him the virgin son, the God Incarnate born, whose arm those crimson trophies won, which now his brow adorn." Now that's a fascinating line, talking about Jesus' victory, and now the crown that he wears as a sign of that. "Fruit of the mystic rose," that's Mary. He was a Catholic, remember, so he held Mary in high esteem, and Jesus was the fruit of Mary. "As of that rose the stem, the root whence mercy ever flows, the Babe of Bethlehem." Just great words describing Jesus as who he is. He jumps straight to the cross in verse 3. Look at this verse. Crown him the Lord of love. Behold his hands and side, rich wounds, yet visible above, in beauty glorified. In other words, even from heaven they could see the wounds in Jesus as he died. No angel in the sky can fully bear that sight. It must have broken the hearts of angels and all heavenly hosts to see him who they'd worshipped on the cross. But downward bends his burning eye at mysteries so bright. And so they were still watching at this great mystery because they knew where it was going to end. The next verse for Bridges is, crown him the Lord of peace, whose power a scepter sways, from pole to pole that wars may cease, absorbed in prayer and praise. His reign shall know no end, and round his pierced feet fair flowers of paradise extend, their fragrance ever sweet. That's beautiful writing, that. And he's talking now about Jesus with a scepter. Jesus now on the other side of death, risen again, holding the sword. Again, right out of Revelation, right? Jesus coming with a sword and bringing an end to all war on earth one day. And what a beautiful fragrance the praises of the people are around his pierced feet. Then he says this, crown him the Lord of years. This one is still sung today. The potentate of time. Now, if you don't know what potentate means, you're not alone. I had to just look it up. A potentate is a ruler, one who has great power. And so Bridges is saying, crown him as the ruler over time, the great, powerful one. Creator of the rolling spheres, ineffably sublime. That is some unusual wording, but he is the creator, and he is just sublime in all his ways. Glassed in a sea of light, where everlasting waves reflect his throne. The infinite who lives and loves and saves. That is beautiful. Beautiful. It's a great way of describing how great and wonderful and mighty he is, the one who lives and loves and saves. Oh, wow. What a wonderful verse. And then the last verse from Bridges is this, crown him the Lord of heaven, one with the Father known, and the blessed Spirit through him given from yonder triune throne. So there's a nice picture of Father, Son, and Spirit together. The Trinity, the triune throne. All hail, Redeemer, hail. Now, if you know Chris Tomlin's version of the song, he took this and put this as the bridge of his song. Different melody, but all hail, Redeemer, hail, for thou hast died for me. He has died for me. This great God, who is ineffably sublime, has died for me. Oh, wow. Thy praise shall never, never fail throughout eternity. And so because he is who he is, we'll always be singing his praise. And so what a wonderful song. Beautiful, poetic words. But Thring came along and said, no, let me try to change these. And he also wrote some stunning words. Verse 1 for Thring said, crown him with crowns of gold, all nations great and small. Crown him, ye martyred saints of old, the Lamb once slain for all. And then he repeats that, the Lamb once slain for them, who bring their praises now as jewels for the diadem that girds his sacred brow. And so he's picturing the praises of the ones who've been saved as jewels in Jesus' crown. Wonderful. Verse 2 for Thring is one that is sung today. Crown him the Son of God before the worlds began. And ye who tread where he hath trod, crown him the Son of Man, who every grief hath known that wrings the human breast, and takes and bears them for his own, that all in him may rest. Oh, wow. That's beautiful. Seeing Jesus as the one who walked where we walked, and who knows human grief and holds his people's grief close to him so that we can be at peace. That's a beautiful verse to sing. Do you know Jesus as that one who not only died for you, as Bridges focused on, but who holds your griefs and gives you peace? Now, verse 3 for Thring said this, crown him the Lord of light, who o'er a darkened world in robes of glory infinite, his fiery flag unfurled. Some alliteration for you. And bore it raised on high in heaven, in earth beneath, to all the sign of victory o'er Satan, sin, and death. That's a fantastic verse about the victory of Christ and about how his light shines over the darkness of the world. And all heaven and earth and beneath the earth are all one by Christ. W-O-N, one. Great stuff. Verse 4 for Thring is one that is still sung in most hymnals today. Crown him the Lord of life, who triumphed over the grave. You see, because he spoke about the resurrection, people like to throw this in the middle of Bridges' version, because Bridge didn't mention this. He triumphed over the grave and rose victorious in the strife for those he came to save. He was victorious over the struggle, and he won over death. His glories now we sing, who died and rose on high, who died eternal life to bring and lives that death may die. That's just stunning poetry about the resurrection. Oh, this great God who lived and died for us, but then rose and conquered death so that death may die, and you and I who believe in him will also one day rise again. Wonderful. Verse 5 for Thring says, crown him of lords the Lord. So a bit of a variation. Crown him of lords the Lord. In other words, the God of all of everybody else, who over all doth reign. He's greater than all human rulers, who once on earth the incarnate word for ransomed sinners slain. He was the word incarnate, but he died for us. Now he lives in realms of light where saints with angels sing their songs before him day and night, their God, Redeemer, King. And so he's now ascended, and all of the angels are singing his praise. The last verse of Thring's version says, crown him the Lord of heaven, enthroned in worlds above. Crown him the King to whom is given the wondrous name of love. Isn't that beautiful? Crown him with many crowns. So he repeats Bridges' first line here at the end. As thrones before him fall. All the thrones on earth fall before the throne of Jesus. Crown him, ye kings, with many crowns, for he is King of all. And so great exaltation words, saying that Jesus is who he is. Which ones do you like? Do you like a mix? Do you prefer one over the other? I think it's right, personally, that they're mixed a little bit, because I think there are some beautiful words of Bridges and some beautiful words of Thring, and mixing them up makes sense to try and paint the whole picture. So I'm going to sing a mix of them, and I hope that you'll join with me. Before you do, just to say thank you for those who support my channel. You can go over to my Patreon and get some of my extra bits and pieces that I give there, all my solo music and the extra devotions that I do as well. And so thank you for joining. And yes, sing it with me now, and I pray that you are going to crown him in your heart, because that's what the song is all about. It's about us saying he is the King of my life. He's the King of the universe, but he's the King of my heart. That's what matters. And so crown him as we sing now.
Crown him with many crowns, the Lamb upon the throne. Hark how the heavenly anthem drowns all music but its own. Awake, my soul, and sing of him who died for me, and hail him as thy matchless King through all eternity. Crown him the Son of God before the worlds began, and he who tread where he hath trod, crown him the Son of Man, who every grief hath known, that wrings the human breast, and takes and bears them for his own, that all in him may rest. Crown him the Lord of love, behold his hands and side, those His wounds yet visible above, in beauty glorified. No angel in the sky can fully bear that sight, but downward bends his burning eye at mysteries so bright. Crown him the Lord of life, who triumphed o'er the grave and rose victorious in the strife for those he came to save. His glories now we sing, who died and rose on high, who died eternal life to bring, and lives that death may die. Crown him the Lord of heaven, enthroned in worlds above. Crown him the King to whom is given the wondrous name of love. Crown him with many crowns, as thrones before him fall. Crown him, ye kings, with many crowns, for he is King of all.